How scary is this film? Let's find out. Hello Fanatics, I'm Dylan Phillips and this is the Film Fanatic Review bringing you Us, starring Lupita Nyong'o, Winston Duke, and Elisabeth Moss. First we'll tell you what the movie is about, and our initial thoughts. Then we'll move on to our spoiler-free likes and dislikes. We'll finish up with some spoiler-heavy thoughts on this film, and our final word. Us follows the story of a family at their summer home who become terrorized by a group of people who look exactly like them. Overall, I was blown away by this film. The acting, suspense, and direction were just a few things that felt reminiscent of Get Out, and while it didn't feel like it surpassed it, it certainly set a high bar for the horror genre. For what I liked about this film, let's start off with the performances. Horror films are typically filled with shallow, stereotyped characters that are more of a means to an end for the horror plot to progress. However, in Us, these characters have a deep well to work with, as we get some real people making this story even more terrifying. Winston Duke is hilarious as the patriarch of this family, but Lupita is the obvious highlight, with her first lead performance and career best one to date. But the performances are just an accent to the essence of this film, the writing and the direction. Jordan Peele blew everyone away with his thriller Get Out, and not a lot of people expected him to do that for a second time. However, in Us we get a very long setup, some detailed characters, horrifying elements, and some shocking twists that show that Jordan Peele is in his prime. And the film's atmosphere comes together through some immersive cinematography and a spooky score. However, thinking back on the story brings up a lot more frustrating questions than answers. It has a couple of plot holes throughout that make the logic seem a bit unbelievable and the narrative becomes hazy, and I'll explain that in the spoiler section. And that's where I'll end our spoiler-free thoughts on this film. If you want to hear our final word or rating of this film, pause now and click the link in the description, because now it's time for spoilers. First off, let's talk about that final sequence to get a little bit of clarity. Adelaide is revealed to actually be the original Red, and that these two characters actually switch places in their childhood. And this gets a little bit confusing when you start to think about it a little. Like, I don't understand if there's some special barrier between the underground and the above ground, and therefore if something happens to one of them, the other one experiences it. Like, she was saying how when Adelaide had her kids up above ground, she was forced to have children, and she didn't necessarily get pregnant by natural means, showing that there was a parallel between their lives. Yet for some reason, when both of them can go above ground, one can die and the other one can survive. Yet what happens if they retreat back underground? Does that mean that they die because the other one that's still above ground is now dead as well? It gets a little bit hazy. I also didn't get how the Tethered got a lot of their stuff, in particular the scissors and the red jumpsuits. I get that she says that for Christmas they got scissors and sharp objects rather than beautiful fluffy toys, but again, where did they come from? Were they just manifested? I understand that they were a government project at first, and so they might have given these things to the Tethered, but once it was abandoned and they were left to fend for themselves, yes, they had the means of food in the terms of the rabbits, but where did everything else come from? And if I had to pick, the best scenes to me would be both home invasions, the boat fight, the final fight, and the big reveal. So, with the thoughts heard, here's our final word. Us is a terrifying horror that plays into one of humanity's biggest fears, ourselves. While the story has its fair share of plot holes, the masterful direction, immersive cinematography, and haunting score create a thrilling atmosphere filled with a strong script and grounded performances, making for a real, horrifying look at the state of the world. This film is a magnificent horror story that shows that Peele has found his niche, so I'm going to give Us a 9. Thanks everyone for watching our review. Are you planning on seeing Us? Or if you've already seen it, do you have something to add? What did you think of the story? Let us know in the comments below. I'm Dylan Phillips, and this has been the Film Fanatic Review.